I'm bringing you special guest Ken Swartz today. Ken Swartz is a rocket scientist. Believe it or not, he's working for the Indian space program right now. Actually, his degree is in economics. We're going to talk about the banking crisis and a lot of the things going on in banking. But you might know Ken as the originator of C60, shopc60.com. He came up with this great formula for this stuff called C60, which is an awesome oxidizer. I'll let him talk about that. And then I got a cute little thing I'm going to play. Ken, tell us a little bit about C60.
Yeah, well, C60 is it's a molecule of 60 carbon atoms shaped like a little soccer ball. You can kind of see it behind me. It's discovered in 1985, got a Nobel Prize in 1996. Richard Curl, Robert Smalley, and then it wasn't until the early 2000s that they started testing it for toxicity, because here's a new molecule. It actually solved a mystery in astronomy. And when they one of the famous Botry study, one of the first studies, it actually increased animal lifespan by 90%.
Wow. 90%. And what study is that?
They use Whisker rats.
Rats.
Yeah, it's called the Botry study.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get.
Yeah, and then that's you can go to whatisc60.org, and they have pretty much all the studies there.
Must be good. You good? You're not looking your age, Ken. How old are you?
Well, that's I tried to do my best to stay young, and C60 is part of that. But C60 is not the magic pill. You still gotta eat right and exercise and get nutrition, and don't drink, have purified water and all those other things. But C60 can help cover those little sins that happen.
All right, that's what we need. Last little thing. Hey, I found a neat little video. Let me show this real quick. Everybody, we're going to get into this banking business here in a minute, but I just want to show this neat little video that his organization, I saw it and I begged them to send it to me, and they did. So check this out, guys.
In 1996, a Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to scientists for discovering a molecule found between the stars. Named carbon-60 or C60, this unique soccer ball-shaped molecule has potential for scientific breakthroughs ranging from astronomy to medicine. But this mysterious space molecule's distinct structure and size had another fascinating attribute: its ability to neutralize toxic free radicals and lift a cell's oxidative burden makes it the single most powerful antioxidant yet discovered. So we did what any responsible scientist would do. We turned it into a gummy. Discover newfound energy, mental clarity, better performance, and even faster recovery time with C60 gummies.
I love it. What any responsible scientist do, we turned it into a gummy, and I got one right here. I'll tell you, this gummy is yummy.
Yeah, because first off, everything was in olive oil, and when C60, because that's what olive oil is. The scientists all use olive oil for the studies, but olive oil is a little strong, and so for me, I if I drank too much olive oil, I'd probably have to go visit the bathroom. So I put in avocado oil. I don't know if this will get, it doesn't make it past the green screen, obviously. So I put an and then for my friend Gary Rodriguez, my main story was I was working on the metal oxygen fusion reactor. And a lot of the scientists who worked on this, was the late doctor this, the dead professor that. So I didn't want my crew or myself to end up in that category. So I researched, I discovered this stuff called carbon-60. They gave one set of rats got carbon-60. The other didn't. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. The carbon-60 rats lived, and the control rats that didn't get any, they died. So I figured, carbon-60 is for me. So I got a supply for my crew and myself, and we're all still around, by the way. So it must have worked. And the test was successful. And then, but I kept taking it because, the afternoon blahs went away, had a little bit more energy, mental clarity. And then about 7 months later, I went in to see my eye doctor, and my drusen or dry macular degeneration had completely disappeared. It's still gone today. I have, just perfect retinas. But in the meantime, my electrical engineer, Gary Rodriguez, Gary.
I know Gary. I know him from way back.
Yeah, so he had developed wet macular degeneration, pretty serious one. And so I put C60 and MCT oil. This is just the box. We have a nice, cool box. And you took about a year taking a tablespoon of MCT oil with C60 in for a year, and his wet macular degeneration completely went away. And his type 2 diabetes, which caused the whole problem, went in subclinical. You still got to eat, you still got to eat proper, do the exercise, all that stuff. But it's but it helps you get to those goals.
Of course, the FDA requires us to do all kinds of disclaimers, so we'll say we're not medical doctors. You got
I'm not a medical doctor, and I can't get medical advice. These products are not designed to cure or diagnose any disease.
Yeah, they give you all that stuff that all their medicines will kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Especially one recent one, but we can't talk about it.
Because we have such a freedom of speech these days. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, check out my, I've got a coupon code of this now. You can get 10% off if you go to Shop C60 and check my link below. It's Green Greg's 10, GREEN, GREGS 10. It'll be in the show notes, 10. And see, I got both the, I got both the avocado oil and the coconut oil. They're both good. Avocado oil, coconut oil is actually, excuse me, avocado oil is good for you. And you might try it with coconut oil is good for you. You might try it with, you ever tried this stuff with the olive oil?
Yeah.
Say olive oil's got some.
That's pretty good. And of course, don't forget we have the gummies.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I just had. I had a gummy.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And they come, you got the sugar-free. We got them in sugar and sugar-free, depending on what you like. Some people just like the sugar, so we have those. The other ones, it's allulose and monk fruit, so it's pretty good on that one. Yeah, it just does amazing things. I mean, I could go on over all the different things, but it's really just an antioxidant. It's an SOD, superoxide dismutase mimic. And SOD is the main antioxidant in your mitochondria. So C60 really brings mitochondria back up to function. And the mitochondria are what make ATP, the energy molecule of your cell.
Oh,
so your energy comes back. And they also make pregnenolone, the precursor molecule for the hormones, so your hormone levels rise. So C60 is known to increase libido.
Hey, that may answer something. You know, I was testing low T, and I was kind of reluctant. I got a prescription on that stuff, and I didn't want to take it. I went back and tested. I wasn't taking any, and I came out normal.
Yeah, that's probably what did it.
I came out normal. It's like, yeah, maybe that's why I didn't connect the dots. Because I've been interesting. Now, see, I didn't know that one, so that's interesting. Okay, very good. Well, we told everybody I was going to talk about economics. So we got a banking crisis coming at us among many other financial crises. You and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the situation with all these loans the banks got out and why they've got it. And everybody knows about the commercial real estate crisis. Well, some people, we can talk about that, which is going to be a problem since the bug went around. A lot of people like me have started working from home, and a lot of the office space is underutilized. But you were telling me this also extends into the renters real estate type market. It's not just commercial, that there's a lot of empty units around, and these because of the kind of loans these landlords have, they can't rent for cheaper. And this is going to cause another bubble that's going to hit the banks. Did I say that right? Tell me what you know about that.
Pretty much, yeah. For most people, yeah, commercial, like I'm sure most people they're familiar with their, home loans, right? And car loans and stuff. But commercial real estate loans are a little different. And so you've probably driven around and you've seen some strip mall or a regular mall, and it's got all of these empty spaces in it. And you say, we're office building, right? It's got all these empty spaces. We'll say, why don't they just lower the rent and put somebody in there, right? Well, the thing with a commercial loan is the value of the loan is directly related to the rent that they're getting for the space, right? And so that's the value because it's a percentage of the rent. And so if you were to lower the rent, it would lower the value of the loan. And so you would have to actually pay the people that loaned you money for that loss. But to cover that, they have this special deal with commercial real estate loans that if let's say you have a part of your building is empty and you can't rent it at the rent they lent, they just add that unrealized rent on the back of your loan because they don't want the rents to go lower. And so that just makes your loan bigger and bigger. And like a lot of these, you've heard a lot of commercial real estate's going up for sale. What happens when that because they got half the office is empty, right? They keep adding all the lost loan money that's not coming in. they don't have to pay it. It just goes to the back of the loan. Well, eventually the loan gets to a certain size and it triggers a automatic sell order. And then they got to sell the building. And they sold some buildings recently and they only got like 30% off the list value.
Wow.
So that's kind of the situation of a commercial loan. But let's see how this worked into the more of a residential thing. And that's like, obviously you could think of, apartment complexes, the same thing. A lot of them can't lower their rent for the apartment because it's the same thing. That apartment building got a loan on it and it says the loan is because they're charging so much per apartment place. And if they lower the rent, then the value of the loan goes down. They'd have to pay the bank, so they just don't rent the apartment. And that's one of the reasons why rents are staying so high, because they can't lower rent. And of course, it goes on the back of the loan, and eventually, if it gets too big, it'll trigger the sale. And that's something we can understand. But a lot of people don't know it's also got into residential houses. Because you've heard, everyone's been hearing like the last 3 or 4 years, they've had this big real estate bubble. And they're always hearing about these cash buyers, right? Everybody hears about cash buyer here. Well, what that is those are actually big investment funds like BlackRock or State Street or Vanguard or, the dozen other ones out there. And what they do is they go out and they get like a commercial real estate loan. And then they go out and buy, 1,000 houses, 10,000 houses, 20,000 houses, right? So they have all these houses they buy and they put it in a big batch together. And then, of course, they're going to use those houses and rent them out to people. Well, the thing is, when they buy that, they get that hunk of commercial real estate loan, they buy those houses, then they're obligated to sell those, to rent those houses at a certain level. And it's the same thing in commercial real estate. If they can't rent it at that level, let's say the rent starts dropping, then they can't like lower the rent like a normal landlord would, or somebody that owned a house, right? Had houses, those rent guys, they would lower it, right? But because it's on this commercial real estate mortgage, so they just keep it empty. They'll keep it empty and it'll just add on the back of the loan, just like a regular real estate loan. So that's another reason is a lot of these, if rent drops, these guys can't drop the rent because it's a commercial loan. And so they just, so they'll just keep the house empty, which causes more demand on the rest of what isn't in part of that bag, keeping rents high. So that's one of the reasons rents are going high, because they kind of have a base on them because they're these commercial loans. And so that causes money, everything. But of course, it adds on to the back end of it when they don't rent these houses off. And there's another thing, the value of the property, because it gets reevaluated every so often. And if, real estate prices start dropping, then the whole value, let's say you got a block of 20,000 houses, and let's say real estate actually does drop because, the economy is totally crashed. Nobody can afford to get a home or whatever. And if it drops,
interest rates, with the Fed just raised interest rates again.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so what happens if you get too many houses that are not renting, and the price of the houses drops too much, or their asset value, they could be forced, like commercial loan, they'd be forced to sell all of those houses at once. So there's a good chance here if we get a real estate crisis or an economic crisis followed by a real estate crisis, that you'll get these blocks of like 20,000 houses selling off at once, or 10,000 houses selling off at once, as these hedge funds do that. Of course, those guys aren't too nice either. Here's another little nasty thing that BlackRock was doing. A lot of those rich BlackRock guys, they had a lot of money in commercial real estate, and they're losing their shirts, right? Well, they came up with this. What they did is they came up with this scam. It's called I can't remember the exact name of it. It's this opportunity real estate fund, right? And they're going to sell. What they do is they took all this pension, because BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard, those guys don't have a lot of money. They manage your money. They're managing your pension money. I mean, I got a 401k from a past job, and I could find, went from this thing to another until finally it's now being managed by BlackRock. There's not a lot of money in it, but they're managing,
Those three companies control collectively about, I think it's almost half of our gross national worth. It's beyond our gross national product.
Yeah.
What they control is off the charts. And, we heard this guy from BlackRock talk about how he could just buy senators like for nothing. And so it's kind of scary when you consider what they have. So, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to see them go into trouble, except that, our whole economy, all these regional banks are very susceptible to this. And, and so things will roll to the big banks. Now, you got to remember, BlackRock is a company that's been promoting that ESG. Yeah, ESG, Budweiser, and all that stuff. They
Yeah.
try to force companies. They even didn't want to go down that road to go down that road now, against the grain of their customer base, which just makes it like Tractor Supply did. You know, Tractor Supply.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, it's your money.
Yeah,
it's your neighbor's money. It's their pension funds. It's not the guys that they manage that money, but that money isn't their money. That
right.
money is like people's pension funds, and that's what they did. This is the latest scam they've been doing and getting away with it. They created this real estate opportunity fund, and they're selling it to the pensions and all that. You know, the big BlackRock guys and the rich dudes on the inside. They're
Right.
losing all this money, so they're selling this commercial real estate at almost full value to this real estate opportunity fund, and they're selling it to the pension funds that they manage.
Oh my gosh.
So they're unloading their own personal losses in the commercial real estate market onto people's pension funds.
Lovely.
And they're getting away with it.
What a scam. Lovely. What a scam.
Oh yeah. And that's just one of the many scams.
I wouldn't shed any tears to see those guys go to the poorhouse, but I don't see that happening. They're ones that they're the ones that love that moniker. You will own nothing and you will be happy, because they rent. They want everybody to rent. That's part of it.
Exactly. But they'll be owning everything, and we'll own nothing.
Exactly. That's why all the uber rich promote that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't get it. They think, oh, they love the little poor guy. No, they don't. They did. You'd see cheaper rent, and our economy wouldn't be in the shape it's in. They don't care nothing about the poor person in this country. That's a ruse. They want to put them all on welfare, but they're not giving them any hope fare. You know, once you get on generations on welfare, families fall apart. And yeah, sure, you got a little money, but you don't have any pride, any initiative, and companies in the area can't find people to hire, and the whole economy goes to where. Look at just look down in South Alabama. We got a whole belt down there where it's just destitute. People live there happy, even though they're living in utter poverty. But seemingly, that's what they'll tell people to interview them. But because their life's stress-free at the moment, they're getting all this dole from Uncle Sugar. But all this all works in together. It's all intertwined. And eventually the wheels are about to come off that train, and that gravy train is going to stop. And what are they going to do then?
Well, you ever heard about the other Philadelphia experiment?
No. What's the other Philadelphia experiment?
Well, we all know the one where the ship disappeared, but the second one, this happened, I think 2018, 2017. And just in Philadelphia, nowhere else, not in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or whatever, New York, but all of a sudden those the electronic benefits cards stopped working for the welfare people. But just the electronic benefits cards. Everything else was fine, and just in Philadelphia.
Oh wow!
But every other city in America was fine, and they kept not working for about 2.5 weeks, and that's when the people started to riot. And then all the cards turned back on mysteriously. And of course, the rioting ended because now they had money and they went down to buy stuff.
They were tested. They were
testing. That was like a beta test, because they know. We have a giant stock market bubble. We have a giant real estate bubble. And you think that's bad? We have a derivatives bubble. It's something like, I don't know, what's some insane thing, something like 3 quadrillions. And I think Chase Manhattan has like a $9 trillion, supposed something like that asset base. It's got a $77 trillion that we know of exposure.
Wow.
Right?
Okay. How many bubbles we got? Okay, we got the real estate bubble. We've got, you said, a stock market bubble. Yeah, it's overinflated. We got a derivatives bubble. We've got debt out the wazoo, both national, corporate, and personal debt. Our nation owes $32 trillion right now. We're spending money hand over fist, and our tax base is going smaller. And on top of that, we've been able to print money because there's so much money in the world, but that's about to change because we've just, the BRICS countries are about to roll out a supposedly gold-back new currency between China and Russia. And we're expecting this will happen somewhere along the time they have their big conference in August in South Africa. So, man, I tell you what, how does our economy hold together? When's it all going to hit the wall, Ken? What do you think? You got an estimate? Any idea?
Well, I think we're going to see some serious problems come fall, maybe September. There's some real potential for some readjustment, especially that BRICS. And by the way, everybody says we got like a $32 trillion debt. But I don't ever heard out there Catherine Austin Fitts. Anybody out there?
Fitts, what about her?
Yeah, Catherine Austin Fitts back in the Bush days, she was assistant secretary of the HUD, and she found all this black money, all this money going out the back door, and it was going out of HUD and it was going into the Defense Department somewhere, and into black programs. And of course, she got fired, and then they persecuted her. But eventually, she hooked up with this guy, Professor Skidmore from the University of Michigan, and they went out and they did the books. And they discovered that that there was like $21 trillion missing. That the government had
$21
$21 trillion. Yeah, it's Catherine Austin Fitts. You can go online and she talks about it. And Professor Skidmore, but then that was getting bad. So the Congress passed this law called FASB 56. And in 2016, I think Trump signed it and it went into action.
What's that law called again?
FASB 56.
FASB 56.
Yeah, FASB is like an acronym of the letters that make up whatever the title was.
Okay.
And so that actually took the books of the government off, so the government didn't have to show you its books anymore, because obviously a lot of money was going out the back. So that kind of, that was a problem. They could still do a little editing, but what did is Professor Skidmore and his students, the grad students there at the University of Michigan, they went out and they went out to find out how many treasuries are really out there, right? Because you got the 6 month, you got the 5 year, you got the 10 year, all these treasuries have to turn over. And there's records on it. Obviously, we're not paying back any of our debt. And so as of December 2019, they estimated the actual number of outstanding treasuries was somewhere, $95 trillion.
Oh my God.
Not the 28 trillion or so at that time that they claimed that we owed. So the actual debt in treasuries, outstanding treasuries, and that's what's been going on, because the US dollar has been the world trading currency. They've been able to sell, everybody's got to use US dollars. So they export all the inflation, the money they create out of thin air, they're exporting it for the rest of the world. And the rest of the world has to pay for that inflation by basically giving us goods and services for this money that is just created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve. And that's going to come to an end when they're, because the BRICS are getting together. They're something like 70% of the world's population, and something like 60% of the economic stuff. And they're going to it's more than the 70% of the world's population. And they're going to have their own system, right, where countries will trade between each other, like the Russians and the Chinese will trade in the yuan or whatever. The India will trade rupees with the Russians, or whatever it is they're doing. And that cuts the US dollar out of world trading currency. That means all that inflation they've been creating out of thin air comes home. And that's when the problem begins.
Well, a lot of it started, Nixon was able to go off the gold standard by basically creating a petrodollar. He made a deal with Saudi Arabia, says, hey, we'll provide you defense if you demand everybody else sell or buy oil from you in dollars. So that forced the world to trade in dollars. The dollar was already the nominal world, reserve currency of the world, but that kind of cemented it when they went off the gold standard and kept this little scam running. Unfortunately for the American dollar, Joe Biden, who ran on the promise he was going to make up with all our international partners and make everything much better, he was going to make everybody happy. He ticked off Saudi Arabia. Now, by the way, Trump, I remember he called up the president of Saudi Arabia, the king of Saudi Arabia, and said, hey, I need you to pump more oil. We need to get the prices back down. They did. They just said, yes, sir. But when Biden tried to call them, they wouldn't even answer the phone. They wouldn't. He tried for a long time to get a hold of them before they ever meet with him, and they totally dissed him. And now they've decided they're going to be and are currently selling oil in just about anything anybody wants to pay them. They quit doing that process. There is no longer a petrodollar. That deal is over. That little deal that Nixon cut is gone with the wind. So we are facing an economic hurricane of sorts if we're not careful. Ken, what do you think people ought to do about that?
Well, obviously, the first thing is, people right now, just because the way situations, people should have, like a good supply of food on hand.
Amen.
At least a 6-month supply of food on hand and a source to get water, right? Purification of water, a source to get water. Of course, living in the city's a big problem, especially if you're in a main city and there's problems, that you're really in trouble. So if you could live outside the city in a more rural environment, that would be great. But the food, the water, also, if you have food and water, you better have something to protect it with. So you're going to need a little bit of lead, and and that's going to be important. And of course,
good heavy minerals. Good heavy minerals are good.
Yes, good heavy metals. And another heavy metal you might be interested in is like silver. The gold's okay, but I think silver has a better upside. And it's also, if people, you had to go into barter or trade, it's kind of hard to trade like a gold coin. Right?
Hey, I got a solution for that, Kim. Check this out. This is called a Goldback.
Oh, yes, the Goldbacks. Yes, the Goldbacks are great.
Backed by gold. It is gold.
That's right. Yeah, the gold color you see is actually kind of woven into the whole.
It is. It's got a little printing on it. It's got artwork. It is a piece of art. This is the Wyoming note. It's the 1 on it means it's got 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. It's not connected to that soon to die,
which is about $1.90 right now.
Huh?
1%. It's about $1.90 right now.
Well, you'll pay about $3 and change for this. But
yep.
The whole thing is it's also artwork, and it's fun. It's easy to spend. I can go buy a loaf of bread with this. I can't do that with a gold bar.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they solved the problem with gold. It was hard to trade because it was so valuable. You just couldn't hardly go in the store and spend it. And you can put this in your wallet. So
well, you're selling Goldbacks, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. So yeah, so I've got the deal with the C60. You can go to shopc60.com. Bring Greg's 10. But if you do let's see, the code for the Goldbacks is Greg. Just Green Greg's, not a 10. You get 1% off. So I got a link for both of these below. You can go get the Goldbacks through me. And yeah, and you can also buy regular gold and silver. You can buy silver. You talk about silver, you can buy silver coins. And they got a deal. It's defythegrid.com. They got a special deal to Defy the Grid. And they'll tell you that if you can find a price that beats their price anywhere out there, they'll meet it or beat it. You can't beat that. When they tell you that, you got a deal. You ought to go to defythegrid.com if you want to buy gold, silver, junk silver, which is the old coins, which I think is a pretty good deal. I got some of that.
I think it's not junk silver. It's just what it is. It's those pre-1965 dimes and quarters.
That's just the term. That's what they call it. Yeah. It's silver coins. It's the old silver coins.
Yeah, but it's not junk. It's what it is. What they call it.
It usually trades not at the coin value, but at the value of the silver. Just keep that in mind. Unless it's like a mint condition coin, not been circulated, then you get some value out of this coin. But most of it trades at the value of silver, which is a pretty good deal. You can buy.
But it's in useful denominations. I'm not sure how much silver is in a dime or something, but it's a whole lot more than $1, I'm sure. So
yeah. So at one time a quarter was worth about $8.
Okay, yeah, I could believe that.
I think the price of silver went down. I know it's more than $4. So so a dime will be worth more than $1.
Yeah, they've been suppressing the price of gold and silver because we all know it's linked to the currency, the US dollar. And like what they can do is they can naked short any commodity they want because of crookedness in the financial system. So they can just create money out of thin air and then naked short it. That means they could drive down the price of silver and gold because they don't want it to go above a certain height because that would indicate a problem with the dollar. But if when the dollar ceases to be the world trading currency and it's pretty obvious and most of the world isn't trading with it, at that point, they won't be able to control the price of gold or silver or pretty much anything else, like the foods you need to eat. And I think pretty much everybody who goes shopping in the last 3 years has seen the price of everything we buy go way up. And especially if you go down to the gas station. I noticed they jacked them way back up again. And and if the dollar loses world trading currency, it's going to go, the US dollar might go down to 25% of its value. Well, so that means, gasoline could easily go to like $10 a gallon.
You just tell everybody to buy food. I wholeheartedly endorse that. And I've told people many times, go to the big box stores and stock up. You better do it right now because there's something of a run on because the people are waking up to the fact that I've heard some places are clearing out. I don't know. I haven't been back to Sam's Club here to check it out.
Well, you heard about rice, haven't you?
Huh?
You heard about rice.
Yeah. India is going to quit exporting the rice, and they supply 40% of the world's rice. And then you got, so that's a big hit in available food. Then you got another big hit with this whole thing going on in the Black Sea. We're probably not going to get either Russian or Ukrainian grain out. If we do, it's going to be a trickle compared to what we did have. And then China, they're stocking up for war. They're trying to buy everything out there. So there could be shortages. There's definitely, we're in for some price increases. These companies, even if they don't have a shortage, their prices go up. They'll take advantage of this as an excuse to run the prices up. So you expect food inflation. So I tell people to go to the big box store, stock up. I tell them I got videos on how to eat free from the weeds and the trees and some medicinals that's all for free. You can't beat free, but you know, it does have to take getting out and doing it. So, but I also, I've got a special deal. If you go to prepwithgreg.com, you can get 25% off of 3 months supply of food right now. And they still got the same prices. I don't think that's going to hold long at all, but this is 25-year stuff. I mean, there's
that's good. Yeah, that's a good backup to have.
There's other trees out there that might, you know, be more attractive up front, but it ain't gonna last that long.
Yeah, garden and chickens. I'm looking at the chickens right outside the window here.
There you go.
Got chickens and little garden stuff. You let them out and run around. Just got to be careful about the coyotes.
I tell everybody.
Coyotes want to eat the chickens too. So
yeah. I tell everybody.
But I mean, no. I mean, we got 6 chickens. You get about 3 to 4 eggs a day when you know when the weather's good and stuff. So. And, you know, it turns, you know, you throw your scraps in there, the chickens eat them. They turn all the scraps and the weeds into, you know, something you can eat, a protein. So it's good to go, you know, kind of raise the trophic level, you know, have a garden, have some chickens. Rabbits are good. I've never really done rabbits. Chickens.
I got rabbits. I got a bunch of rabbits myself.
Yeah. So that's
I got always rabbits and worms. Neither one of them crow or.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, we don't have a rooster, just hens. Yeah, and then of course you can get the goat, but those are pretty ornery. But goats could be pretty useful. Milk goats and stuff. You got kids.
Maybe one day I'll get some goats.
Get the dwarf goats. Don't get the big ones. Get the little dwarf goats because then they can't kick your ass. Those big goats. We were kids, man. With neighbors had some big goats, and
I remember the big goats. Boom. I had one once. My uncle gave it to me. My parents didn't. My mom didn't want to let me keep it, so he got rid of it and bought me a pony instead. He ran over me with the tractor when I was 2 years old, so he's always trying to do stuff for me. So yeah, I got ran over by a back wheel of a Ford diesel tractor when I was 2 years old. So I survived. Probably because my bones were plastic at the time. It would. Doctor said if I'd been a little older, I'd have been crippled for life. So, yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I remember it. But anyway, yeah. So we got to get ready for the tough times. Look, there's nothing wrong with prepping and growing a garden. It's good for you. You get psychological benefit when you're growing food and nourishing things. It's got a benefit to it beyond the nutrition you get, but you're not getting all the junk you get, the stuff you get from the stores when you're growing your own. So I highly encourage you. I got links to True Leaf Market and Eden Brothers because if you are growing your own garden, you need seeds that you can replant and get the same thing back. So you can check those links too. And I'll probably start selling worms again soon. No, I don't ship rabbits. Not now. One day maybe.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's
some people do. Some people do.
Somebody asked me about buying some worms from you. So
all right. Yeah, I'll probably set that back up soon. So I'll let you know. I'll probably keep the sizes down until it gets cooler weather, so it'd probably be like 4 pounds.
Oh yeah, that's right, because it's worms probably don't travel well in the heat.
Although I filled some back orders. I pack them better than most other worm farmers, so I can usually ship year round. But the post office does something squirrely, like delay shipping. The bigger boxes will have a problem.
Oh,
and I've had problems with the post office in the past. But if they send them straight out, it should be fine. I ship the big boxes. I had a lady order 20 pounds from me. And I just filled her order. I'm trying to get all the back orders filled. So we're about to probably go back in and start selling soon. But anyway, so these are things people can do. Just get ready, prepare. You know, would you keep your money in dollars?
Well, if you keep it in the bank, you got a problem.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of cash on hand too.
That's true.
You know, that's because they know when the plastic stops working, because if you know there's a see all these banks, everything is hooked into the derivatives market and the bond market, which is then also hooked in the derivatives market. And so, you know, if the losers, if there's bets go wild and the losers can't pay the winners, the whole system could lock up. And one day you wake up one day and your plastic doesn't work.
Plastic don't work. Wow.
And they know they got 2 weeks because they already did the beta test. You got about 2 weeks before, you know, all hell breaks loose after plastic stops working. So
I've heard rumors that some banks are already freezing accounts and limiting withdrawals and stuff like that.
oh yeah, there's some because there's not enough cash. So having cash around is never a hurt either, because you know, even if the plastic locks up and you've got cash, you can still go down to the store and buy stuff.
So keep some of this on hand.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't keep everything in it. You might want to
no.
gold.
Those Goldbacks, they're really good. I have a bunch of them myself, and that's just like, you know, emergency money supply, because people will take them because you know they'll know it's tell you it's like 1% of the gold of an ounce of gold or 10% of an ounce of gold. So it's
whatever it's denominated at. They're denominated in thousands. So if it's a 1, this is a 1 note. It's got 1/1000th of a troy ounce.
Yeah. It's about $1.90 something today.
Yeah, this bill is almost pure gold. It's got, I don't know, they got something they printed onto, but I think that might sublime away. It's got just a little bit of, I got to talk to them, ask them what the etching process or inking process is, because it's got they got beautiful artwork on. So they're pieces.
Oh, yeah, it is. And so it can't be counterfeited. So
yeah, they're collector's items. Well, it's gold. So at least for the value of the gold, no, you can't counterfeit that. If you wanted to, you can melt it down and you got gold. But that's the cool thing. You just have a little ingot of gold, a thousand of a troy ounce. But the cool thing is you can put this in your wallet and you can spend it. And because they trade up for above the value of the gold, and people are trading these in a lot of places. So that's the cool thing about it. So yeah, like you said, people will accept that. So that's awesome, Ken. So there's always something we can do for whatever problem is at us. And we won't have a rough time at it, but there's always an approach, some way to try to take care of yourself, your family, your loved ones. That's the main thing.
And it doesn't hurt to get to know your neighbors, you know, and find neighbors that friends and family and neighbors that you can work with. Because, you know, especially on the countryside, it's a little easier because, you know, there's space between the houses, but they all, you know, they're all working together. Like out here, you know, there's 1 road, 2 roads in, you know, it's just a straight road, and they have, if things really get bad, they're just gonna block off both the roads, because we've got deputies that live here. So they'll just block both roads, and only residents will get in and out. There you go. And then they're you know, they're sheriff's deputies, so that's going to happen immediately. So I mean, and working together with your neighbors is really important.
Yeah, I got law enforcement here too, and a bunch of us are veterans too. So, but you know, I actually live in a little development, but I got the corner lot, so I got the biggest lot, so I can actually farm my place. I do. but I also have a garage full of tools, and I got a freezer full of seed. So my whole approach is, okay, I'm just going to give all the neighbors seeds and tools and say, have at it, or maybe some kind of sharecropping arrangement. Say, we'll farm your yard or the field down the road. It might be a little harder to secure being there, you know, physically, but there's always things to do. You just got to think your way through the problems that you've got. And if you're in a city, that's just going to be tough. I would not want to be in a city with a bunch of hungry people walking around where there ain't no food. You start to look like Longport to them. Don't be the Longport.
Yes, don't be Longport. Things could get really bad in some places, I'm sure.
Don't be the Longport. That's one of my.
And there's always other things, you know. There's like the power grid. You know, they've talked about how fragile the power grid is, and we remember, you know, the power grid in Texas went out once because it was too cold, and then it went out another time because it was too hot.
Well, they got warnings right now about the Pennsylvania area power grid that serves the whole Northeast. So they're saying they're stressed, and if it gets worse, the people up there may go out of power. I don't know, Ken, if you recall, you see that red placard back here behind me? That's a podium placard from the Power Grid Defense Conferences that I chaired. I'm a member of the Secure the Grid organization. I'm also a member of the late Dr. Peter Pry's EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security. So I'm a member of 2 Power Grid Defense organizations, national level. So that's what got me really getting more serious about prepping And when, yeah, I started this channel, this YouTube channel to be a gardening channel, believe it or not, but somebody discovered I ran a power grid conference. So they asked me to do a video about it. And I did a little video about power grid, and it kind of went viral on me. And suddenly I had a bunch of preppers signed up. Well, I was already a prepper. Of course, I was a prepper before they called it prepping. That word didn't even exist. We just called it survivalism when I started out. So yeah, I've been storing stuff for years and years because I know there's things that can bring us down. But it seems like it's got a lot worse than when I started.
Yeah, I think
about this stuff.
I don't think they've been reinvesting into the power grid. They've just been, the utility companies have just been, squeezing the cash out and not putting the money into, new transformers, building it up. So it's really it gets you right to the cutting edge until, it's like the roads out. I don't know how the roads are. Roads are terrible here in Colorado.
Hey, let me tell you, it's worse than you think, because we want them to actually to harden those big high voltage transformers to take care of the supervisory control and data acquisition units called SCADAs, which control the grid. The most vulnerable thing, the hardest to replace, is those large high powered transformers. They're 200 to 400 tons a piece. They're like big as a house. And there's only so many manufactured a year, and it takes 18 months to get one on your loading dock after you order it if the world is working right. But when the grid's down, you don't have a banking account, there's no way, you won't get it. So the issue is that this is something I've been promoting for a long time. There's too many ways to bring these things down, too many ways to burn them out. I kind of got sidetracked there, but there's like many ways that our grid can go down. So yeah, I remember I was going to say, there's just some things you can do to harden these things, and they're discrete, and we understand them. The technology is there, and on a transformer basis, it really don't cost that much. Now, here's what will really frost your cake, make it not like sweet. It's gonna be like the other kind of frosting, like what you find in the toilet. Guys, the power grid companies collectively have spent more money fighting to harden the power grid, with lobbyists off K Street running the halls of Congress. And I've been to K Street. I know what that looks like. They have spent more money fighting harden the grid than would have cost to harden the grid. And they do that out of the ratepayers' money. What you pay the grid companies, what you pay, they've turned around it and used it to fight against making you safe. Now, if that don't get your dander up, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and it's going to be there's going to be some consequences for that, because there's some grids like the Colorado can be in Colorado Wyoming grid can break loose and be independent. The Texas grid can break loose and be independent, and maybe the grid in the Northwest can break loose and be independent, but Southern California can't be an independent grid. The East Coast can't be an independent grid. They have to get power from the Midwest and the South elsewhere to maintain it. And so if we have a breakdown, whether it's an EMP pulse or there could be like a big solar storm, they could the other grids could restart, but they just won't restart the Southern California grid because nobody want to give it power. And so if you could be in a spot that there's just literally no electricity for your whole state, and if you don't have a generator or solar power to provide energy for your house, you're SOL. And of course, being in a state without electricity for a couple of weeks, it's going to be, it's going to be pushing Mad Max world there.
No kidding, it's going to get ugly fast. Well, the MP Task Force on National Homeland Security, that the actual Congressional EMP Task Force, like over a dozen years ago, had come up with an estimate that 9 out of 10 people would die within a year. Actually, they were predicting 9 months, but they publish a year. That's what they state, from societal collapse. And people just don't realize how dependent we are in our modern society on electrical power. It's you don't get water without the pumps running. The pumps are electrical. Same thing for fuel. Same thing for
can't pump gasoline from. Yep.
Yeah, everything depends on it. You go to the parts stores these days. Well, they don't have the books like they used to have to flip through. Everything's on a computer. They wouldn't even know what to do. And your money is in the computer at the bank. So you ain't got no money. There's no way to order stuff. There's no internet. And everything will just start collapsing and unraveling. And even if you could get stuff, some things, like trucks won't be able to run without maintenance, but just so long. That's why I worry about the ability to keep the spent fuel rod pulls at the power plants cool. They got diesel backup generators, but sooner or later, your trucks aren't going to be delivering diesel fuel anymore. Not to mention that all the Mad Max folks might be chasing those trucks if they do get on the road. They need some kind of a military escort. But there's going to be a limit to this stuff. I think the small modular nuclear reactors, I did a video on that recently, need to be at every nuclear power plant to give them backup power and also ancillary power to put on the grid. I think that's a good choice to make that stuff safer. And it also, well, we talked about reprocessing that spent fuel. I got that on my other videos. I'm always looking, you and I are technical people. We like solutions. I'm always hunting a solution. It's that engineering piece of me. I'm always saying, well, how can we fix this? And a lot of other, prepping channels, they'll tell you, the world is woe and the sky's falling, and it might be, but I'll tell you what to do about it. And try to come up with a way to stop it. That's, I started this grid defense long before I started this channel, and I've actually, like I said, I've run 2 power grid defense conferences myself, and I'm the Alabama State Director for the EMP Task Force on National Homeland Security. And I just did a big presentation on the actual threat of these Chinese balloons. It's a lot worse than people think. But I'm also working up countermeasures to take care of that. So these are things that I do. I know you're active in stuff, you and Gary. So I appreciate you guys. And I got to return some email to Gary. I saw he sent me some messages here a couple of days ago. I'm behind. I'm so far behind on taxes. So many things that's choking me right now. I'm 3 years behind on taxes, but I got to get them done because I'm at the point I really need to get a tax return. If I was owing, I'd be in serious trouble. But they owe me, so they don't care.
Yeah. Yep. Well, he don't. Yeah. It's well, he can just be like Hunter, man. You can owe and don't have to pay any taxes.
Oh my God, no, I can't be like Hunter for many reasons. Oh my
yeah, it's just getting pretty ridiculous out there, and hitting going places that if you read back in history and you see when a society becomes to a certain level, generally think bad things happen down the line, and the United States has kind of gone down that thing. They have this old saying, "Whom the gods wish to destroy, they first drive mad." And you turn on your television and read the papers, they're pretty crazy. It's getting pretty crazy out there.
No kidding. Maybe we need to go back to the Articles of Confederation.
Yeah, or something better. Yeah, it's but you have to take care of yourself and your family. I mean, you have to make preparations, and
Bingo.
and because you can't rely on promises, and
Nope.
So you have to, you need food, you need a source of water, you need a way to protect it, and then you need to get your money out of the banks and into something solid, because that's just it is, like you said, just electronic digits in a computer somewhere.
That's
if the
all
power
it is.
goes down or something else happens.
That's why I signed on to this stuff, because
Oh yeah, Goldbacks are great.
Because the cool thing is that I got the Survival Tribe Network that I formed, and one of my viewers, Wiseowl, the subscriber, she's been actually doing that for some time. She's got a major tribal survival tribe area up in Arkansas, and she set up a website for a group. She spent a lot of money out of her own pocket to try to give people means to form our groups. But I think we need to form a network between us and have a way to trade between us. Is what I was thinking. So I think that may be how we could do it, because people don't want to be in a CBDC, because eventually they want to make this go away. So a lot of this stuff that may be happening may be on purpose. Even the BRICS may be part of the plan, for all I know. And it's interesting that both China and Russia are actually out in front with their CBDCs. They're actually leading on that. So
yeah, but they're doing something with it. Yeah, they tried using the CB. They have this Fed coin and all that kind of stuff, but the problem is it's not. It doesn't work. That's the other problem. If they could try to implement this and force everybody to use it, but any business has to pay all of these other businesses and everything. It's a very complicated system, the payment, and it has to have security. And if you can't provide that, it's that took decades to build it. And if they think the Fed coin or the CBD, central bank digital currency, is going to replace that, they're just kidding themselves, because it'll just collapse. And you push people to do this new currency, and then that currency doesn't work to run businesses. Well, it'd be just the same as turning off the lights, because the truckers can't get paid, so they can't buy diesel, and you don't get any food at your local store. And one thing breaks down to the other, and that could easily happen. I mean, most of these disasters we're facing are man-made, or man-made stupidity-caused disasters. They're not actually natural disasters.
Corruption. We've allowed so much corruption to work into the system, and with our government, we've allowed agencies to metastasize way beyond their original intent. And they you create an agency to regulate somebody, but then they get in bed with a regulator. So the regulatee and the regulator develop an incestuous relationship. Then they protect each other and the heck with the rest of the country. I mean, it's just off the charts, the stuff that's going on.
Oh yeah, well that's, basically it's going to crash and burn, and then it's going to have to restart. It's too late now to save the system, to reform it. It will crash and burn. That's 100% guaranteed. And then we'll have to rebuild from the base back up to another functioning system, because this one it's too late. It can't be saved.
That's why I started in survival tribe network. That's why I'm looking.
Yeah, so you need to find your tribe, build your tribe, and get ready, because it's coming 100% guaranteed, and that's just the way it is.
So you think things will start getting kind of rough this fall, right?
Yeah. And it'll start getting rough, but things don't go down like all of a sudden, right? It goes boom, 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 boom. And you talk to people that have been out of the country for 10 years and they come back for a visit, and they're just astonished how bad things have gotten. And because we're living day to day, we don't see how much it changes from day to day, week to week, month to month, because we're always in the middle of it. But talk to people who, expatriates that come back, they could see the rapid decline. And so, and that's kind of, you also have to get that, that 30,000 foot look at things, looking at history and stepping back from your everyday personal life, and then kind of see where, you know a little bit about history, how things have gone, where are you in that cycle of history? And where we are into that cycle of history, it's when the bus has already gone over the cliff. It's bouncing down the hillside toward the bottom. That's where we're at.
I had a dream one time. I was on a long trip in the bus, and I dreamed that everybody stopped and they ran in the store, but I was busy working on my laptop. I didn't have time running. They got my job done. I said, hey, I need to walk in. So they said, okay, we'll back the bus up while you run in. They was going to back up to, and when they were back, I was the only guy on the bus that got off at that point. Everybody else got back on, and the bus backed up and went over a cliff. I'm sitting there looking at it. So holy smoke, if I didn't get off now, I'd be down there with that. Everybody was lost. So it's like, maybe that's a sign, get off the bus.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You gotta think for yourself. It's like with anything else, we know something happened, and if you thought for yourself, you're doing much better now than, and don't worry, that's going to come again. You're gonna have to make more of those hard decisions.
More new stuff. So yeah, I was going to mention that. I get a lot of viewers or people leave comments saying, well, nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's happened. Nothing's going to happen. I see that comment a lot. It's like, are you kidding me? What do you got in your eyeballs? Have you not seen what's happened since, the beginning of 2019, 2020, 2021? How the things we went through with shutdowns and lockdowns, and how much our federal debt went up, and all these people that took this stuff. You realize that some of that stuff, has got that RNA modifier, I don't want to.
Oh yeah, exactly. And
I don't want to trigger the algorithms. I'm not going to say.
Yeah. So, but if you look at people's debt level, their personal credit card level, people are maxed out. The prices have been going up way faster than wages.
Have you ever thought about this? Like half the population now is genetically modified.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You ever thought about that?
Something like 70% can't get a $500 bill. If an unexpected bill came through, they couldn't even cover like a $500 bill, something like 60, 70% of the population. So, and it's because they've been draining us. They've just been, month after month, year after year, they just kind of wearing you down, because the whole system is just like, so that doesn't fall over the cliff. It just kind of down the stairs until you're way into the basement.
Yeah, and here we are.
That's kind of how it works.
Precipice of war with Russia, with China, with North Korea, all nuclear powers. The soon-to-be nuclear power of Iran, but you talk about things happening out there and threats to the grid. One of the things, the sun will get us if we don't get a grid hardened. Eventually, the sun will get us, even if we don't get an EMP event. But I really worry about sleeper cells in this country, because Iran told us they got them here.
Oh yeah, but look at all the people coming across the border. They put 7 million more people into the country, and most of those are fighting age young men. What are they here for?
A lot of them seem to be Chinese military. So there's a lot to question about what's going on. Yeah, so the White House goes to China. They kind of suggest the idea, hey, well, we might cut a deal, and release some of the sanctions on you if you'll control fentanyl coming in the country. It's like, well, you can do that. All you had to do is shut the border, So, but they don't want to do that. Shutting the border is just like, oh no, we can't do that. You know, they're suing Texas for putting 1,000 feet of float, which is, you know, a fifth of a mile of float in the Rio Grande. They claim it interrupts with navigation. About the only thing to navigate the Rio Grande's a dinghy or a rubber ducky.
Yeah, it's not very big. You can throw a rock across it easy. You know,
Yeah,
it's not a very big river at all.
You can wade across it. I don't consider it a navigable river. Yeah, they got some patrol boats running, but they're made to run in shallow water. You know, hydrofoils. They run some hydrofoils on it too, but it's shallow water. I mean, how in the world you consider that a navigable waterway? There were some ships that tried it in the 1800s, but none of those shipping lines made it. So, yeah, that's not what I would call a navigable waterway. That's just they're throwing smoke screen because the federal government won't do their job to secure this country. Anyway, well, we got to secure ourselves, and that's what we're talking about. So, Goldbacks for your wallet, and I would say get some C60 for your.
Yeah.
It's got some good benefits. I got to.
Yeah, C60. Well, you know, double the lifespan of test animals, and it just does all kinds of other things. Protects you against radiation. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. Got rid of my macular degeneration. It just doesn't, just, you know, basically it just rolls you back to where you were maybe 10, 15, 20 years before.
Yeah.
So,
of course, we got to say we're not doctors and go.
Yeah, I'm not a medical doctor. Can't get medical advice, but
medical doctor don't know jack diddle about C60, but not any I know. But you're supposed to consult with your doctor, so you know.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind whether
you can afford one
topic or not. You go consult with your doctor, and he will prescribe you with tons of medications that come out of the oil industry and big pharma. So yeah, go take some big pharma petrol derived chemical stuff. Anyway, that's what they teach us. All that goes in the waterways later, affects all kind of other stuff. Anyway, yeehaw. So Ken, I really appreciate you coming on. Do you have any final closing words?
Oh, no, just kind of, you know, keep your eyes open and get yourself ready, you and your family ready, so that, you know, if things go bad, they're going to be fine. I mean, it's just, it's, you know, we've already talked about what you need to do. It's just time to get off the butt and go do it, because time is getting short.
Get off your can and go do it. So yeah, the people that follow my channel are known as swivel heads because we keep our eyes wide open and head on a swivel. So I just encourage everybody to keep doing that. So Ken, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's good.
Oh, what's the coupon code you were going to do?
Yeah, the coupon code GreenGregs10. GreenGregs10 for the C60. Let me, I got a little document here.
And then for the Goldbacks.
Just Green Gregs for the Goldbacks.
Yeah, agree. I like the yeah, those, I got Goldbacks myself, so they're definitely a good product.
Yeah, well, if you don't get any more, just use my code. That'll help me a little bit. I get a whopping 1% on that. I got the links. Use my affiliate link that I'll post in the video. That's what you need to use. Use my affiliate link because I'm their customer. I'm their affiliate number 15. So it would, once again, that's Green Gregs, GRE and GREGS, just like my channel name, all run together for the Goldbacks. And then it's Green Gregs 10 to get 10% off at shopc60.com. Anyway, Ken, I really appreciate it, man.
Okay, yeah, good to be on. And we'll have to get together and talk with Gary sometime.
There you go.
The good old days, United Societies in Space.
Yeah, we probably ran into each other on that venture many years ago. So everybody subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click all if you find value in my videos. Share them also with other people because the platform sure isn't sending out notifications, not much. So I want to thank everybody for watching. And with that, I'll say to all you viewing, Greg out.